What if the very thing that nearly destroyed your life became the fuel that built your purpose? Today's guest went from battling trauma, addiction, self doubt, survival mode to building a company designed to help people be seen, remembered, and trusted. Welcome to Glovisor Podcast, where we explore leadership, communication, business growth, and personal development through real conversations with people who have transformed adversity into impact. Today, we're joined by the founder of VBizMe, a video-first virtual business card platform helping entrepreneurs stop being forgotten. His journey is powerful because it's not just about technology or entrepreneurship. It's about rebuilding a life from inside out. Through faith, therapy, discipline, psychology, sales, and personal growth, he transformed pain into purpose and created a platform centered around connection, trust, and human attention. Today, we're talking about second chances, founder-led sales, resilience, storytelling, first impressions, and how business owners can stand out in a world where attention is now one of the most valuable currencies. Glovisor welcomes Michaelangelo Casanova.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate you, Joe.
Pleasure. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
As
All
am
right.
I.
So first question, for people hearing your story for the very first time, who is Michaelangelo Casanova today?
Well, the first thing you should know about me is that I've been to hell and back twice, right? One by no fault of my own, the other one self-inflicted, right? So I'm a father, an entrepreneur, a founder, a speaker, and someone who believes deeply in transformation. I am the founder of VBizMe, a video-first virtual business card platform designed to help people be seen, remembered, and taken seriously in a world where attention disappears in seconds. I came from a place where most wouldn't survive, and if they did, would be devastated for life. Most of them wouldn't survive, and for a long time, I believed the lies that were spoken over me. Today, I no longer live by those lies, but today I live with purpose. I want to help people understand that where you started does not have to decide where you finish.
Wow, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, I was a wounded kid who grew into a wounded man. You know, as a young kid, I had a stepfather that severely abused my brothers and I. You know, not only was it physical, it was emotional, it was verbal, it was mental. So I wasn't raised with encouragement. I was programmed with destruction. I was told I'd never be anything. I was stupid. I was worthless, and nobody would ever love me, right? So, and that I wouldn't amount to anything. And these things, when you hear it from an adult, they really, really hurt, you know, and you carry these things like a program. So they carried me into things like not being able to maintain a job, addiction, drugs, anger, bad choices, and self-destruction. I'm super intelligent, right? I have a 127 IQ. I think that's smart because I was told I was stupid. And I'm not a bad person trying to do good. I just lived this program that was inculcated into me since I was 3 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. So what I do love about this conversation is that you're so self-aware, number one, and that you're so open to talk about your past and all of these challenges that happen in your life. Most people want to never talk about it ever again. At what point did you realize your life did not have to stay defined by those experiences?
I have to be honest with you. There wasn't an aha moment, right? You know, because I've had a bunch of those. It wasn't like, aha, I'm done, and oh, this is what I have to do. You know, I've had a lot of those with no results, but I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. You know, I must have just at some point, because I can't recall exactly where. But I think, and I'll go into that a little bit further, but it wasn't a magical moment by any means, right? And I didn't change overnight. It's been a long, drawn out journey. I read over 235 books in the areas of psychology, sociology, motivational, inspirational, philosophy, the Bible, Quran, Bhagavad Gita, all these things. I just tried to figure out what was wrong with me. Why? Why did I make all these mistakes? Was my life just the same thing over and over? Just pain, 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 pain. And, you know, I had to separate what was done to me from who I actually was. And that was powerful because once I realized the lies, you know, and they were all lies what this person told to me, I could start building a foundation on truth.
What would you say was the hardest part of rebuilding yourself emotionally and mentally?
like I stated earlier, you come to the realization that what's going on is that I live a program, right? So Aristotle and the Jesuits, they have a saying, give me a child to the age of 7 and I will show you the foundation of man. So in other words, if they give a child, they give them love, they give them happiness, they give them peace, they give them the ability to speak his mind and to talk, and you're respected and nurtured, then yeah, the likelihood of you coming out to be a bad person is not very, very high, right? But then you take what happened to me, then and people will tell you, hey, you're a great person. Hey, you have a great ability. Why don't you become a salesperson? But you can never, ever, ever see that until you can never believe that until you see it. It doesn't exist, right? So I always had to fight the voice that's like, you're not enough. I was always had these self-defeating words that would be in my head when I was doing really, really well. And just, I couldn't get out of my own head because these things, anytime I did something good, I would have a self-defeating behavior. So it was horrible. And this is a program like Apple and Microsoft would have, right? In their program, nothing happens. Those programs don't deviate from the norm by any means unless they get a virus, right? So I had to rebuild myself, and rebuilding myself meant I had to unlearn survival. I had to learn how to trust. I had to learn how to feel without running. And ultimately, I had to learn how to forgive myself without making excuses for my mistakes. And that's not easy. That's a war, but it's a war worth fighting.
Absolutely. Now, you brought up sales. How did that become part of your healing journey?
Sales is everything to me. Sales was like my peace, right? So sales became a part of my healing journey, but not in the way that I expected it to be, And let me tell you how it started. One day, after another arrest, I was in the county jail. And I was in a single cell, and I was arguing with God, and I was just like, why if I was raised this way, if you know that I'm living a program, if you know that this is what I was taught and that I can't change, why do you keep punishing me? And I was really like in an argument with him, I was like, and I was crying and I was overwhelmed, and I was just like, I'm like, this guy beat me, told me I was nothing. How do I get out of this stuff? And it still chokes me up to this day when I talk about it. Man, I was thinking about taking my life, just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this no more. And I guess you could say this was an aha moment, but it didn't really change, right? Much. It was just like, okay, so I had an answer. So at that very moment, and I'm not even joking, I had a calming that came over to me, and a voice said, because you're going to be the greatest salesman in the world. And that's not, I know it sounds crazy, but that's what really happened. If someone would tell me the story, I'd be like, you're crazy. But it really happened to me. It really did. And then what happened was, after that voice came, it showed me as a little boy, like when my stepfather would come through the door, and I would have to gauge him immediately, like, oh my God, am I going to get beaten today, or am I going to be okay? Right. And then from there, it went to when I used to sell cars, and I had an uncanny ability to be able to read people. I could tell from their language. I could tell from the looks on their faces. I could tell their energy. And I'm very, very, very ultra sensitive. So I can feel anything. I can feel anger. I can feel empathy. I can feel happiness, but from other people. So that was what really got me into sales. I was like, wow, then I had no other choice. Where did that come from? Because you're going to be the greatest salesman in the world. So then I went on a quest. I started reading all kinds of books. When I went up to the big prison, I started reading all kinds of books. I went on this quest to figure out what was wrong with me. Why do I act like this? So people always talk psychology, you hear psychology. Oh, you can change psychology. So I read every book on psychology. I ended up reading 235 books in 17 years, all in the areas of psychology, motivational, inspirational, all that. So when I got out, I said, okay, I'm going to sell cars. I know I can do it. I read these books. I could sell cars. And then, man, within 3 months, I was the number one salesman. Then I went to a better place, started selling Cadillacs. And then I got in trouble again. But I'm going to tell you another thing. When I moved to New York City, and this is other sales, I actually got a job at a New World Trade Center selling mortgages for the network capital. I was on the 59th floor. My desk was 3 desks from the window where the Statue of Liberty was. It was amazing. And so what happened is I created a pitch called Pattern Interrupt from all the psychology I read. And then I started increasing sales. And then they said, hey, we love what you're doing. We want you to write your pitch down and give it to everybody in there. And the first month, I increased sales by $200,000. The second month, $2 million. The third month, $3 million. They gave me $10,000 in cash. I put it on my desk and they said, thank you. But you know what happened? You know what happens? I got great communication skills. I was valuable. And then they saw my record and they was like, hey, listen, we can't do this until you have a certain amount of years to clear. So I lost the job. And that put me into a spiral. But sales gave me the proof that I was not broken and beyond repair. I had value. I had a gift. So I had to go back to the drawing board and just strengthen it. And that's what I did.
Let's go back for a minute. You said you went to the big prison. How long were you in prison for?
I was in total of my life, 13 years.
13 years.
13 years. Yeah. 13 years.
So that's where you read those 200 books.
Yeah. 235. Well, I read a lot now, so probably about 220.
Yeah.
It's been a long, arduous journey, but I have to say it made me who I am today. And I feel like if I moved one piece of the puzzle out of there, I don't think I'd be where I am right now on my way to build $1 billion corporation.
Take us back to the day you heard the voice. Set the scene. Were you falling asleep? Were you just waking up? Were you standing, sitting down? How did you hear that voice?
I was
Because
on my
what the only reason I'm asking you is because a lot of us, we hear voices sometimes, or we think we have that internal voice sounds. How do we know which one to listen to?
I was on my knees and I was praying and crying. I was crying. I was weeping, and I was just playing it over to him. How is this possible? I mean, you created this, so you're supposed to watch over me. Why is this happening? And then when that calming voice came over, I'm telling you, it was unlike anything. And I've heard people say stuff like this. I'm like, yeah, whatever, until it happened to me. And then I was on my knees, and then it was just calm. And then it showed me more scenes as a child. And it was just, the whole point is you have the uncanny ability to be able to read people. I gave you this gift to read people so you can be the best at what you do.
But after that moment, you still went and did 13 years in
No,
prison.
that was like my third bid in there.
Okay.
So yeah, they were separate. They were separate, pieced out.
Gotcha. So
5 years, 6 years.
So after you heard the voice, did you go to prison after that?
I did.
Okay. And how long were you there for that
No.
bit?
Yeah, I did. I went one more. I did one more. I did for a year on a violation of parole.
Okay. So during that year, did you feel that you heard this voice and you questioned yourself whether did you really hear the voice and does it really connect as to that was your purpose in your goal?
So yeah. So when I came back in, that voice reminded me the whole entire time I was in there. Is this what you want to do? Is this what you want to do? And so I went back to reading. But knowledge is power, but knowledge is nothing without action. Right? So if I'm not acting on it, then it's just nothing. It's just words. So with that time, that was it. 2017. I got out and I never ever looked back.
Interesting. You had mentioned about being overlooked or forgotten sort of by people, which family members and friends. But you became obsessed with helping others be seen and being remembered. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So right now I talk with prisoners. I talk with kids. Right. So I just want them to know that they can change and things can be better for them. And because I grew up, I was invisible. The only time I wasn't invisible was I was getting beat. And when I tell you I was getting beaten by this man, he was punching me in my torso area. With every blow, I would piss my pants. So it's not like I'm talking, I got smacked around a little. No, I was beaten, kicked, spit on, told I'd never be nothing, pulled by my ears till they ripped. I think that's why they're so big now. and I can't hear nothing with them. But smacked in my head, punched in my head. And the verbal started at the age of 3, but then the actual, when he started beating us was like 6 years old, and that went on until I was 13 years old. And then my mother found out and she ended up going into a mental institution. So my story's free. I'm writing a book now. It's almost done, but she went to a mental institution and we all went to foster care. So the story goes on and on and on, right, of what happened. But what's going on now is even better because every piece of that puzzle, every piece of my life is just one stepping stone to the next, to the next, to the next. And right now, I love it. I wake up happy. I smile. And it's just, I want people to be seen because I've been through very, very, very hard and very turbulent times. And Like no child should have to go through that. It's beyond me how a grown man could just think it was okay to do that, you know? So when I entered into business, I started noticing other people weren't being seen. I would go to networking and they would just give their card, but they didn't know how to present themselves. So I offer up at these things, I offer up free business classes, like just understanding business, understanding sales, and teaching people how to talk and present themselves. So yeah,
Sure.
I have a IQ higher than most people. I'm very charismatic. I'm funny. I'm charming, and I never knew any of that till like 10 years ago. And now I hone it. It gets better and better. I practice it, and with my business, we close at like 48%, which is awesome. And it's just because of the things that I do and things that I've been through, and understanding that what happened to me as a child was great in order to get me and to propel me to where I am, to where I am. Because I have to tell you this, my youngest brother, he lives in a tent in the street, all strung out on drugs. You know, I go look for him. I bring him socks and t-shirts. I don't give him money. I'll bring him food, and it's sad. You know, I pay for his phone to stay on, so I know where he is. But it's just, yeah, it's sad because he never got over it. He never got over it.
It's a tough price to pay, though, to get here.
Yeah.
But how did the idea of VBizMe first come to life?
I love telling this story. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm in Brooklyn, New York. I'm reading something, a business magazine, and I read an article. 82% of all business cards are thrown away within the first week. So I'm like, roll my head, what? That's crazy. 82% of it. So at the time, I was doing sales for a friend of mine who started a little website company. So I would call people and talk about their website and get it right. So once I saw this, I said, hey, this is the biggest scam in the world. We could change this and make it better. We can make this better for people. We can get people, because cards don't do anything. But I didn't know this. Now it's 88% of all business cards are thrown away within the first week. Right? So a lot has changed since then. So that's only 4.5 years, 5 years. So I start telling him, I say, listen, what if we could actually make a business card that can introduce you? Because he knows what he's doing. He's designing websites. So he didn't understand what I was saying for like 6 months, maybe not that long, until I literally just started drawing things that I wanted to see, because he was a coder, so he could put stuff where I needed stuff to be. And I said, hey, why don't we put this here and this here? Now let's have this crazy video that people are just like, wow. And you know, because I read a lot of psychology, so I know that when people are wowed and they feel great, there's oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine being released, and it just grabs people, so they're more willing to sit and talk with you. That's why I come at people with high energy, you know. So eventually we started drawing it up, and it's been 4 years in the making, and we haven't even formally launched, and we have many clients through a paid beta test, and we got all the feedback. And right now, in about 2 weeks, this thing is going to be unlike anything anyone has ever seen. And I promise it to you.
So, what makes a video first business card more powerful than a traditional business card?
There's a couple things. So you have the video first. So it's a dynamic intro video. Someone scans your QR code, then this amazing video comes through. So, and it goes right to your logo. So it could be like fire or an explosion or something a little bit more common, corporate, right? And then it goes right to your logo. So everyone's like, wow, right? So let's get it going. Then there's what I call the invisible advantage. And the invisible advantage is the sequence that guides people through. They see the video, they feel good about it. Now they want to do more. So then you walk them right through it. You see my info. And then at the bottom, I have these icons. So it tells everything about the person, the about me, the services, the reviews, a blog, pictures, videos, everything. So people can make an informed decision immediately. They no longer have to take your card, go log into the computer, go check on, go read through the 4 and 6 pages of your website. Here's a fact for you. On a website, there's only 15 to 20% relevancy. That's all people need. Yet they have 4 to 6 pages going on doing this. This is why you should choose me. I'm the best, right? So I take that 15 to 20% relevancy, and I just put it on there so people can make an informed decision immediately, right? While they're hot, while the oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin is running.
So I'm guessing first impressions is very important in the digital world.
Absolutely.
You focus heavily on the storytelling and psychology. Why do people remember stories more than information?
Well, because information speaks to the brain, but stories speak to the person, right? People forget facts all the time. They forget numbers, bullet points, sales pitches, but they remember how something made them feel, right? They remember a struggle. They remember a comeback. They remember a moment that connects with their own life. And if you could find, number one thing in sales is finding a common ground. And the reason why we have the dynamic intro video is because most people, especially nowadays, these young kids, can't find a common ground. They were raised on video games, not socializing. That's the way they passed on all the stories before they had paper, right? Everything was a story. They passed down a story. It would be an allegory or a metaphor, and they would pass it down. So I figured, let's have this card do the same exact thing. So people are excited.
The QR code is really to just give more access to the business card.
Statistically, people do not want to download an app. So when I was talking to my developer, I said, listen, we're not having an app. We're not going to have an app. We're going to make it nice and easy, right? QR code makes access instant. No typing, no searching, no friction. Someone scans it and they're immediately inside your world, right? They see the dynamic intro video. They see everything that you can do. And now we have an AI assistant coming on, and you're able to translate the language. So, Portuguese, French, Spanish, Russian, Chinese. So when all these features do one thing with the card, right? They make it easier for a customer to understand you, trust you, and then take the next step.
What about the analytics? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Why do we need so many analytics now? Why do we need to know so much about where my business card is versus at least I gave out 1,000, and out of 1,000, let's just say 30 people called me. That's a pretty good return, right?
Sure.
So why do I need to know so much analytics now?
Well, because analytics, ultimately, they help you understand what's working. So if you have a card like our card, it tracks how many people saved your card. It tracks how many people looked at your social media. It tracks how many people looked at your website. So all these things are very, very valuable because people need this to know. So let's say if you wanted to start an investment campaign, right? A campaign to invest in your business. So you look at your analytics, you go on the back of my card, you look at your analytics, you say, oh, well, Facebook got 1,100 clicks this month, but Instagram got 3,200. So that would tell me, let's funnel the money into Instagram because more people are looking at it. So analytics are very, very, very important.
Okay, so it's not just about the people that are coming through your site, but where you're also going to invest your marketing dollars.
Right. There's a lot of variables to it. Yeah.
Sure. So what type of businesses or professionals benefit the most from your platform? Is it industry specific?
Honestly, almost anyone who has a business can have it. And I think anybody. Let's see, if you're a construction worker, you get the card, I put a dynamic logo. So what I'll do is put like a blueprint on the back, have it do something crazy and then go to your logo. And then that comes out on that on the scrolling navigation bar I told you about. On there, I have their pictures of their work. I have their Better Business Bureau. I have Department of Consumer Protection. I have all their certifications and licenses, home improvement contractor's license, insurances, right? In the world of scams, they could benefit from it. Insurance agents. I have a bunch of insurance agents. I have mortgage brokers. I have salespeople. I have car dealerships. And it just goes on. Everybody, authors, nonprofits, network marketers, MLMs, everybody.
Attention is a currency. Why is it so hard to earn it now?
Everybody is fighting for attention, right? Hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. I go to network marketing events. I meet a whole bunch of people and they're not in business 3 months later, but they're taking pictures, posting them. I feel like this is what they do. They waste all this money, say, hey, look at me, but they're not really out there doing anything, right? So, and people are overloaded. Social media, text messages, emails, ads, videos, notifications. Everybody is screaming for attention. So the human brain just filters that stuff out, right? So if you're boring, you're forgotten. If you're average, you're forgotten. If you're generic, you're forgotten. With VBizMe, our video first experience, you're never forgotten.
Now, you get to see a lot of different people networking. What would you say is the biggest mistakes that they're making?
Well, I'm going to tell you from my own stuff. And I know everybody else is doing it, right? Until you learn it, right? So as an entrepreneur, I overloaded people with too much information, right? I try to tell them everything instead of getting to them what matters the most. It becomes just noise. So what I did was I said, okay, actually a friend of mine, he was another salesperson. I don't even know why I didn't have it. He said, brother, you need to explain how this card is going to benefit them. It's amazing. It blows my mind when you show me the stuff you do. But what are you saying? Because right now you haven't told me anything how it's going to benefit me. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. So I wasn't sharing that with them. I would just tell them how great it was and blah, 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 and banging on my chest like the people with the websites, right? So that's where the invisible advantage comes, right? It's the hidden psychology inside VBiZMe. It uses emotion, storytelling, video, and an intentional flow to help people trust you faster, remember you longer, and take action sooner. Because good marketing has 3 variables. Who are you? Why should I trust you? What should I do next? And if people can understand you fast, they're going to roll with you.
What separates those entrepreneurs who persist from those who quit too early?
Persistence is everything. If you don't follow through, it's over. It's over, right? Persistence. So I read a quote just the other day. It said something to the effect that entrepreneurs have a sense of delusion, right? But it's that delusion that pushes them to go further than anybody else. It's that what realists might say, they base everything on the money they have, what's going on right now in their life. They can't see outside of they can't see further than their nose or their bank account. So, right. So they stay trapped inside their current environment through their income, their limitations, all that. So this is what separates. Persistence separates people, because if you're not hungry, if you're not going for it, man, I've been doing this and re-gauging and refreshing and thinking, coming up with thoughts for almost 5 years, right? Not consistently, but for the last year, super consistently. So, and I'm just persistent. And people, when I tell people, listen, this is going to be the next billion dollar company. I'm going to be an IPO. I'm going to get it on the stock market. And people scoff at you. And I don't even say anything anymore, because I don't even pay any attention. Because here's the ultimate reality. Where the people have no vision, they perish. If you want to work for someone day in and day out and never get any further, then go ahead. But me, as you already know, I'm a risk taker. but now they're calculating. My risks are calculating. They weren't calculated before, right? So the dreamers keep people alive. They may look crazy in the beginning, but it's always them that change. Look at Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, who's like my idol. I mean, these people have changed the world, man, in a good way, So yeah, being persistent is key. You have to be strong. You have to maintain your goal, and you cannot listen. I don't listen to anyone who has not walked in my shoes.
Absolutely. So that brings up a good question for you. So is purpose discovered or is it built over time?
It's both. My purpose was discovered through pain, right? As we know, I told you. And so now I later realized now I can help people. I can help people who've been through the same thing, but then purpose has to be built. Once you understand, you have to build it, right? You have to build discipline around that. And then you have to build habits, and then systems and businesses, messages, and then you bring the impact, right? Pain may reveal your purpose, but action builds it. So yeah, I think it's both.
So how has your definition of success changed over the years?
A lot. So at one point in my life, I thought money was money, sex, power, respect, hustling, being out in the streets, and whoever had the most money drove the best car, right? That was my thing. They made the movie Bristol Boys about me and my friend. I think you know about that. Me and one of my buddies. So, but all that came at a heavy cost. It came with pain. It came with suffering. It came with incarceration, and it came with consequences that no amount of money, Joe, can erase. What I went through in there and what I did. Luckily, I was a boxer, so I was able to protect myself. But people try. I had money, but I didn't have peace. I had attention, but I didn't have purpose. And I had a whole bunch of just yes men right around me. You know what I mean? They wouldn't tell me the truth. Their life depended on it, because I was keeping those guys alive. So it's just being wealthy now is being a great father, being a great business owner, being a great brother, being a great friend, and having a purpose, and just continue to build my business in the way that I see it. Because most importantly, I need to be faithful, truthful, and honest to myself. So many times I have set goals and I didn't do it. And you know what? I start distrusting myself, right? People don't look at life like that. You could tell people are going to do something for you, and they won't trust you after a while either. So how is it the same thing when you tell yourself, I'm going to do this, and then you don't show up for it? You understand? So I show up. I show up for me. I show up for me every morning. I'm at this desk at 4:30 in the morning. I read the Ethiopian Bible. I read something by Neville Goddard, and it's something that's going to get me. And I read it out loud, and I just move forward. And that's success to me today. And I don't have to have all the money in the world. And by doing that, all the money's coming. So today, I'm a man building purpose, and the money will just follow that. That's what I believe, 100%.
Follows purpose and certainty.
Absolutely.
So what kind of legacy do you hope that VBizMe leaves behind?
I want it to be a household name, but more importantly, let's just say if we go IPO, we end up making $1 billion. I had discussed that I only need $1 million a year. If I build this where it's huge, I only need $1 million a year. I want to put programs in prisons. I want to put programs in school. I want to put programs. There's so many smart kids whose parents don't give a shit about it, like how I grew up, and they're so smart and they just have nowhere to go. I want to work with counselors in the school and just try to get these people. My ultimate goal, and this may sound lofty to some people, but it's on my list and on my vision board. I want to open up a school for kids like me, kids that were super smart, had no way to go. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to be a trial lawyer, and I had that beaten out of me too. I was just a drug addict and a loser, and just my book's coming out, but you know what I told you guys. So it's just that's what I want to be remembered for. Man, this guy, man, he came from nothing, and that's what my daughter says. It's like, Pop, you came from nothing, and you are building yourself, and I'm so proud of you. She works for Fidelity Investments in Boston. She did really, really well. We just pushed her. But yeah, that's all I want to do. I just want my daughter to be proud. And I want to be the best man I can possibly be. And when I die, I want my money to be able to continue to help people.
So for someone who's listening, who feels like their past disqualifies them from success, leadership, purpose, what would you say directly to them?
So I would say this. Don't listen to the naysayers. There'll always be people who pass judgment on you. Some people will think they're better than you because they have never experienced what you experienced. They have never known real want. They have never known poverty. They have never known abuse, trauma, addiction, or the kind of pain that changes the way you see yourself in the world. And because they have never lived it, sometimes they judge it from ignorance. But know this, if what happened to you ever visited them, it might be you they would come looking for. Because the people that have been through fire often carry the wisdom that comfortable people do not understand. You can change if you want to. I believe that with every fiber of my being. Your past may explain some things, but it does not have to own you. Life is what you make it. And most importantly, your life is about you becoming who you were created to be, not who your trauma convinced you that you were. One of the most powerful things I have learned in this life, we have neither friends nor enemies, only teachers. Every person you meet teaches you something. Every painful relationship teaches you something. Every betrayal, every judgment, every rejection, every chance encounter with another human being gives you an opportunity to learn about yourself. And when you really understand that, you stop giving everybody else so much power over your healing. You begin to realize that most of the time, it was never really about the other person. It was about what that moment was revealing inside of you. Accept that like holy doctrine, and life starts to change. The trauma gets easier to understand. The darkness starts to lose its grip. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what can I learn from this? And who can I become because of it? So to the person who thinks their past disqualifies them, I would say, no, it does not. You're not what happened to you. You're not the mistake you made. You're not the labels put on you. You're not the lies you believed when you were hurt.
Awesome message.
Chokes me up a little, but you're responsible for what happens next. There's still time. There's still purpose. This is still great. There's still greatness inside you. And when you finally decide to fight for yourself, you can walk yourself out of the darkness, one honest step at a time. And that's going at the end of my book. So I just want to.
But
it still chokes me up when I read it.
Of course. Yeah, I know. But I love that we're getting a preview to your book. So who should be contacting you right now?
We're looking for investors. I have an amazing pitch deck. When I see that, it will knock their socks off. What I've come up with, the stuff that we did, how we compare to other similar products in the market, and there is no comparison. So on the SMB sales fit score, we have a 9.7. Our closest competitor is 8.1. So I would encourage any investors to come take a look at what we have. Let's sit down and make a deal.
Great. Now, what about if someone wants to check out your platform?
You can visit our website, www.vbizm, VBizMe. So that's Victor, Bob, Igloo, Zebra, Michael, Echo.com. And my email is mcasanova@vbizme.com. And if people need to get a hold of me immediately, investors probably, then that's 860-770-9893.
Well, Michelangelo, thank you so much for sharing your story as openly and honestly as you did. I think a lot of people are going to connect with this message. The pain does not have to be the end of your story. It can become the beginning of your purpose, just like you have. And I really love your mission behind the VBizMe and helping people stop being forgotten and start building that real human connection. So thank you for joining the Glovisor podcast.
Thank you. I truly appreciate you, Joe.
So
Thank you for letting me share.
thanks everyone for listening. If this episode inspired you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their past does not define their future. And don't forget to follow the Glovisor podcast for more conversations on leadership, communication, resilience, business growth, and personal development. Till the next time.